Okay. Hi everyone.
Hi, sir.
So, what's the motto today?
We were going to discuss how to make to-do app as well as the weather app.
Okay, so I today have to attend a meeting at 6:30. So maybe weather app will be a bit faster, but we'll try to complete it. And there's something that we left yesterday, right? We were playing around.
It's set timeout.
Yeah. Well, let's try to do a few things there, okay? Because you may see these kinds of thing in technical interviews. So I don't want you to feel like, okay, things like this is not possible. Okay? Because React JS is quite easy. You can do a lot of stuff with it.
Yeah.
Sorry, JavaScript, I mean. Friends, are you on the call? No?
He was in the call.
Okay. Queenie, let's do it. You can see the recording.
So, should we start
Okay.
the session?
No, I think while some people are joining, we can play around with JavaScript a little.
Okay.
The timer we were looking at yesterday, when I play pause, the number changes in few intervals. And because we only have a single thread, the time we wait for, we can't block the thread. So using a while loop that we were doing yesterday was a wrong approach. But there's something we can do. There's a method. There's a method called sleep in Python. You can do something similar here. जो लोग beginner हैं, don't get scared. The session hasn't started. Set timeout for resolve and the timeout. The timeout. Now we can make this function async and run a while loop. Okay. Sleep for 1 second. Set the time to e-1. Okay. Let's refresh it. So this is one of the ways. What we're doing is we are doing set timeout indirectly in a async await way. A more crazy and hackish way, I would say, is do this: await fetch. Okay. So see, in interviews, it's about you, like how do you want to sell yourself? If you want to sell yourself as a student who is like very sincere and 𝗃𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗃𝗲, you can do that. But if you want to sell yourself as a techie, then you can show some crazy stuff like this and tell, okay, this is not what we should use, but this can be done. If you want to give away the control of the main loop, away from JavaScript execution. But there's a dedicated function for it. So you guys know about request animation frame? Anyone? किसी को पता है? Okay, I guess no. That was a no. So the thing about request animation frame is it is called the number of times जो भी तुम्हारे screen का refresh rate है. Normal screens run at 60 FPS. If I do this, वो 60 FPS पे decrease करते जा रहे हैं. So it's pretty fast. But this is also a technique कि we give out the control of main loop. Okay. So everyone ready now? Or we are waiting more?
Yeah, it's about the time.
It's 11 minutes late from the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we can walk through the to-do app. So how many of you know how to use CSS in the React component? Okay. Yogaraj is not raising any hands today. Okay. If you guys don't know, he's an intern, but his skill level is of a SD. Okay, so how many of you want me to go through how to use CSS in a JavaScript component? Okay, quite a few. Okay, so we should start with the to-do, sorry, the timer itself. Let's try to add some styles here. What a mess. Oh. Okay, so we have a timer app. So see, this is our HTML piece. What we usually do to change the color of this text. अगर सिर्फ HTML होता तो. See, a very easy thing to do is यहाँ पे आओ, use this, select any component you want to style. यहाँ पे element का style है, उसमें write anything. Color, if I change it to red, 50 REM. Okay, so ये काफी easy तरीका है. And you can see how adding things here actually reflect back to the HTML. So this is the HTML for this style. Now, what if I try to use it here? I don't know if this should work. Ideally, it shouldn't. And I'll tell you why. Okay. So here we have an error. ये बोल रहा है, अरे, okay, it is saying style prop expects mapping from style properties to value, not a string. Okay, so उसने काफी अच्छे एग्जाम्पल दिए. It is saying कि हमको एक ऑब्जेक्ट पास करना है, ना कि स्ट्रिंग. So the rule is, anyone wants to write it down? Rules of styling in React. Okay, the first thing to do is style attribute accepts object like 𝗬𝗏𝗏. See, the first curly braces, first outer pair of curly braces, वो indicate कर रहे हैं कि HTML के बीच में मैं कहीं पे जावास्क्रिप्ट लिख रहा हूँ, ओके, इट्स योर नॉर्मल लाइक टाइम. The inner pair of curly braces indicate that this is an object. तो कंफ्यूज मत होना. ठीक है. Now this error should go away. It got away. Now the second rule. Okay. JavaScript objects. Sorry, not JavaScript. Key of JavaScript object cannot hold. ठीक है. जैसे फॉन्ट साइज होता है, ओके, तो फॉन्ट साइज में बीच में डैश होता है. ये हम ऑब्जेक्ट पे नहीं कर सकते. जैसे वेरिएबल का रूल्स होता है C++ में, सेम है ये. तो इंस्टेड ऑफ दैट राइट फॉन्ट साइज विथ S कैपिटल. अगेन 60 आ रही है. ओ, एंड दिस इज अ स्ट्रिंग. ओके, सो ये बेसिक स्टाइल ऐड करने का तरीका है. नेवर डू दिस. बहुत बहुत रेयर केस आ गया है, एकदम मजबूरी आ गई है, समवन इज डाइंग, तो ऐसा करना. और असाइन इट इन अ वेरिएबल, और उस वेरिएबल को यहाँ पे लिख दो. दैट ऑल्सो वर्क्स, बट डोंट यहाँ पे कचरा मत करना स्टाइल का, बिकॉज a React component itself is a collection of HTML as well as the JavaScript. अब तुम स्टाइल भी यहीं पे घुसेड़ दोगे तो it looks very ugly and hard to manage. Third, how to use CSS files. Okay, I won't tell you one method. Global style. Okay, for global style you can check this index.css, and yeah, how it is injected in this main. Okay, so if this file is imported into any component like this, and let's say it has a class, it has styling for class logo. तो ये लोगो मैं पूरे एप्लीकेशन में कहीं भी यूज कर सकता हूँ. ओके, बट दिस इज नॉट अ गुड थिंग टू डू, बिकॉज हो सकता है मैं कंपोनेंट बना रहा हूँ, उसमें मैंने क्लास का नेम दिया बटन. ओके, बटन कैन बी लाइक एट अ लॉट ऑफ प्लेसेस, और 𝗃𝗏 जो कंपोनेंट बना रहा है वहां पे भी एक बटन करके कंपोनेंट है. सो माई स्टाइल से ओवरराइड हिज स्टाइल्स, और उसका मेरे ओवरराइड कर देगा. मतलब दोनों एक साथ नहीं चलेगा. सो वी नीड अ वे टू आइसोलेट ऑल दीज स्टाइल्स, and how that works is I'll show you in Tool. If I inspect anything, right, यहाँ पे तुम देखोगे हेडिंग है, हेडिंग के सामने में कुछ कचड़ा सा लिखा हुआ है. ओके, that rubbish thing what you see is what isolates heading of to do with any other heading. क्या अगर तुम कोड में जाके देखोगे तो इट सिंपली सेज स्टाइल्स डॉट हेडिंग. ठीक है, एंड दिस स्टाइल्स इज कमिंग फ्रॉम दिस क्लास, दिस फाइल. सॉरी, यहाँ पे तुम देखोगे हेडिंग का स्टाइल है. अच्छा, एक बात बताओ, हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू वांट मी टू गो थ्रू CSS, like what is class name या class selector of CSS? Okay, so this CSS file is fine. ये सबको समझ आ रहा है? Okay. Okay, so यहाँ पे जो भी स्टाइल डिफाइंड है वो हम किसी भी JSX या जावास्क्रिप्ट फाइल में इंपोर्ट कर सकते हैं और यहाँ पे यूज कर सकते हैं. अब यहाँ पे एक और न्यू चीज है. class. So ideally ये class होता है, ठीक है, but ठीक है, ये भी class होता है. So to avoid the confusion, it is called class name. Now let's see example of class name. Global style, I have told you we are not using it. And second is module CSS. So for doing this, create a file with whatever name you want, dot module.css. I think this is specific. इसको change मत करना. It's related to your bundler and loader. You can configure it to use some other name, but by default this works. If you write just CSS, it won't work. Uh, Import it in JavaScript file like import styles from name.module.css. Okay, whatever name you have given. के बाद you can inject it into any tag as class name. Styles dot class selector. Okay. Now a quick question. Can anyone guess कि एक से ज्यादा styles अगर मेरे को डालने हैं यहाँ पे, how can we do it? Any hands? कोई new hand? Anyone wants to try their luck? Okay, so I'll give a hint. Okay, I need a hand after that. This is a string. Okay, styles dot जो भी तुम क्लास का नाम लिखोगे that would be a string, and to add multiple classes we need to concatenate those strings. Okay, काफी काफी अच्छा हिंट था. आप कोई ट्राई करना चाहता है?
Someone has wrote it in the chat.
Okay, can someone read the chats for me? Putting all of them into an object. Okay, that won't work. That will that work? Let's see. I think that should work, but let's see. Kidding, right? Okay. uh, okay, that didn't work. So the thing is, we need a string here, and when you convert the object to a string, it becomes this. So programming means देखने के शौक है किसी को तो they'll recognize this. ये error बहुत बार आता है when programmers do mistakes. Anyways, I told you that ये चीज string है and this is a string too. Okay, and end result भी मुझे एक string चाहिए. So what I can do is simply string concatenate them. So what is that? Styles dot heading plus add a space. नहीं तो sub no heading test, right? Okay, now we have it here. 50 rem ka height. So you can add it like this, but that looks ugly, I would say. So another best option is to add it in a array and join with a join function. Okay. Join it with a join function with a space. So this also does the same thing, but यहाँ पे आप तो multiple चीजें add कर सकते हो. And this also gets ugly pretty quickly. So there's a CLSX. There's a library for it. It's pretty small, compact. You can use that if you want, but we are just going for the basics, so we can avoid it. This is a basic way to do it. You can keep doing this. Yes, so I think that's what we need to understand about the styles. So I've already styled it. We are just going to add functionality to it. I think I'm switching tabs a lot. Add it here. We do that. Okay. Uh, okay, I think that should be fine. So what do we have here? What kind of functionalities do we have here? Can can anyone tell me what kind of feature do we want to build here? Wait a sec. Car raised his hand.
Text field.
Okay. So this text field right now works, but there's a concept called controlled and uncontrolled inputs in React. Okay. So if you link a state with a component, it's called a controlled input. कि जैसे स्टेट चेंज होगा इनपुट की वैल्यू भी चेंज हो जाएगी. But if you don't link it, it's uncontrolled. Right now ये uncontrolled है. Okay. So we need to link our state with it. वो एक चीज हो गई. दूसरी चीज you can see this is static. ठीक है, मैंने यहाँ पे to do item में बस लिख दिया learn react. It has two components. One is to do item, that is ये single item. ठीक है, and the second is ये पूरा ऐप. अब हमको क्या करना है, इसको ना डेटा से ड्राइव करना है. ओके, लेट मी पुल आउट वन. ओके, ओके. So I was saying, कल के जैसे let's write some specs and take down what we want. Okay, for to do app. Let's do it quickly. We want to render a list of to-dos when our to-do is clicked, we want to fade it, maybe mm, cross it and make black and white. Okay. Then what else do we want here? We want to add it to add a new to do when button is pressed. Okay. So इतना ही करना है, ज्यादा कुछ है नहीं. इसका ब्रेकडाउन देखते हैं. Build UI, we already have it. Yay, first of them. Uh, can some people who are trying it on their local raise their hands? Okay, I think only one person is doing that today. No worries. So, okay, so we can do two things. Either I can quickly go through the concepts, तो तुम लोग को ज़्यादा concept पता चल जाएंगे, और I can assume कि तुम लोग साथ में try कर रहे हो और मैं उस pace पे चलूँगा. What do you want? Do you want me to go faster and cover more topics? Raise hand. अरे भाई uh, the first one is better for today's time constraint. To go faster? Is that Adarsh? Uh, बाकी लोग I think are fine with anything. Okay, so let's go through it quick. The first thing we need to do is यहाँ पे ये static data print कर रहा है. We need to make it dynamic. Dynamic बनाने के लिए we need to think कि इसमें क्या क्या चीजें चाहिए. Text चाहिए obviously. So we add text here. Now since we are not passing anything, ये खाली हो गया है. Okay, यहाँ से pass करना पड़ेगा. Learn React Redux. ठीक है. अब you will think कि ये तो static है. I mean, we solved this. It looks dynamic, but this is static now. Okay, before that, let's solve the no problem. We want to cut some objects. For that, I already have a style, and that style is called to do tile done. So if I add it here, okay, not like this. So it gets cut. And if I remove it here, it gets colored. So we have to do this based on whether or not we have a done flag here. उसके लिए simply you can do if else. We can push our styles dot to do tile done and do a join here. Okay. If I pass a done here, that gets cut. So we have some functionality working here. Now I'm thinking कि this is still hard coded. We want to create a state for it. So let's create a state. Okay. Use state. Now what it should have? It should have text. It should have done, and it should be a list because हमको multiple to dos चाहिए. Okay. So let's add some example ones to start with. So, yeah. Okay, we have an error because I haven't imported this. There is now. Now, anyone can hint me how to render a list of items? Apurva has some idea. You can send in chat if you're not comfortable talking. Map. Okay, Prince said map. How many people think it's a map? Can raise their hands. Okay. Okay. So let's try to do it with map. One way to do it is यहीं पे कर दो. Inside curly braces, we can add any JavaScript we want. So for each to do, we will return this element and we'll add a to do dot done and we'll add a text to do dot text and we want a key. Does anyone know why we want a key? Okay, it's working. Let's try to insert multiple things. और भी static वाले hide कर सकते हैं अपन. But if you guys are doing this, right, it gets ugly pretty quickly. क्योंकि यहाँ पे to do item के अंदर you'll see that we are using curly braces. यहाँ पे भी हम लोग curly braces use कर रहे हैं. हो सकता है कि हम लोग बहुत सारे curly braces के अंदर फंस जाएं. So I would say a better way to do it is to do elements. It's completely same. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. Okay, so what I was asking was, does anyone know why do we need a key element? No. Okay, so it updates only when the key has changed. So sometimes you would need to update things dynamically. बहुत rare case होता है, like 1%. Then you can update only the key and the component would get re-rendered. Okay. But make sure the keys are unique. Otherwise, uh, let's say key, there were keys of oh, I can do it. There were keys of 1 and 2. Okay. And you removed 1 or 2 ka, okay, it's confusing. Let's say you shuffle these. Okay. I cannot come up with example right now. I'll send that later. I have a, I'm getting a call. Can you wait a second?
Yeah.
या तो क्या बोल रहे थे हम लोग? हाँ, ई का मुझे अब एग्जाम्पल समझ नहीं आ रहा है, बाद में देखता हूँ उसको। टू डू एलिमेंट्स. Okay, so we have this dynamically been set up. Let's go back to specs and think what do we want. किसी ने starting में बोला था input. So let's add input. As I told you, input को हमको controlled बनाना है. So we have to create a state for it. Input set input. The initial value should be blank, obviously. Now the thing is, if I pass a value here, let's say, तो मैं जो भी पास करूंगा, it will get printed here. But if I try to change it, मैं टाइप करने का ट्राई कर रहा हूँ, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. Delete it, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. I try to cut it, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. The thing is, when I change it, when I type anything to change it, the state remains the same. So if you guys are familiar with functional programming, anyone who knows about functional programming can raise their hand. If you are from CSE, तुम लोग सुने होगे functional programming के बारे में. So the thing about functional programming is, if we have a function, it should always return same output for same input. Okay, so function is like I put in some input into a function and it gives me output. It's a maths में होता है, right? F of x is equal to x square. So इसमें कुछ भी डालो हमेशा same value आएगी. एंड फंक्शनल प्रोग्रामिंग का भी ये कॉन्सेप्ट है. तो फंक्शनल प्रोग्राम रिएक्ट में फंक्शनल प्रोग्रामिंग ये है कि UI is a function of state and props. This is a pure functional component. इसको pure functional component बोलते हैं. Because UI या return value is a function of props. Okay. Someone was mentioning Y Combinator the first day of workshop. So the Y of Y Combinator is actually a concept from lambda calculus. So lambda calculus से functional programming आया. UI is a function. Okay, so this is called a pure functional component, and this is a function component which is a function of state and props. So unless we change the state or the props, this input won't change. अभी बेकार चीज लग रही होगी, but in a bigger application that's very good. So how do we change it? Okay, मैंने कल बताया था कि अलग अलग टाइप के इवेंट्स होते हैं, like click event. So there's a change event. If we try to log it, we can see that on change console.log, whenever I will try to change it, an event would be fired जो कि console में log हो रहा है. So in JavaScript, if you ever get confused, either write debugger or write console log. Just check the variables and you are good to go. So this is on change में हमको event मिल रहा है, and let's see what's inside event. कुछ random चीजें हैं. There's a target and if it's value. Okay. We should see this one. Okay. So there's a value in event dot, sorry, inside event, there's a target, and inside target, there's a value. So what looks like a folder or a tree here can be accessed with dot. So we have E, that is event. We can, okay. So what you'll see is every time I write something, it, it gets logged, right? I'm typing FSD, FSD, but it's not getting reflected here. So what we can do is we can tell it to, why don't you set it to the state? And now we can see it. Okay, so a simple concept, one more like deeper concept here is uh, these, right? These are e.target.value, but what we saw here, see these have my changes. The last letter is different, but this one for all the events, it it was same. Can someone guess like why is that happening? Okay, so the thing here is it's it's a reference. Okay, the simple answer is it's a reference. That's why that is happening. Okay, anyways, so we know how to make this uncontrolled component a controlled component. Now, when the button is clicked, we have to insert append one more to do in the list. So we have already done it yesterday. Pretty simple. Const handle add. So we want to have a new to do. Okay. Obviously, it's new, so it's not done. And it's new, so mm, the text should be coming from the input. Then और इसको attach कर देना है input के साथ. So whenever you click the input, this function will get called, and this function will just add whatever is in the input. So let's say learn Redux. We add it. So we have it. Okay. Any doubts till now? Anyone want to ask something?
वो एप्पल वाला वर्ड हटने का जो फंक्शन की है वो समझ नहीं आया कहाँ पे हुआ.
ये वो रहेगा.
हाँ, वहाँ पे जब एप्पल था तो वो नहीं हट
ये
रहा था, तो हटने के लिए क्या किए थे?
यहाँ पे ऑन चेंज लगा दिए. जब चेंज इवेंट होगा तो इनपुट की वैल्यू अपडेट करनी है और वैल्यू चेक करनी है e.target.value से. इसको अलग से लिखता हूँ. फंक्शन हैंडल इनपुट चेंज. यहाँ पे इवेंट आया. इवेंट को ले लिया और यहाँ पे डाल दिया. ठीक है. ओके. अब नेक्स्ट क्या करना है? एनी मोर डाउट? Okay, so already काफी कचरा हो गया कोड का. We have added a lot of stuff. थोड़ा सा क्वालिटी बग देखते हैं. Okay. यहाँ पे एक empty task चला गया. That should not happen. So I'll mark these as task for you guys. If anyone wants to try. Yeah. New. Okay. Okay. We don't want empty task. And anything else someone can think of? Okay. Let's do this. I have added it already, but यहाँ से remove नहीं हुआ. So clear the text input when our to-do is added. See, learning React is very easy. ठीक है? If you will go to react.dev, अभी वर्कशॉप में जो भी कॉन्सेप्ट्स कवर हो रहे हैं ना, सब है यहाँ. ठीक है? कंपोनेंट, एपीआई हो, बेसिकली सारी वो चीजें जो बता रहे हैं, इवन ज्यादा है. तो फर्स्ट टाइमर्स के लिए थोड़ा हेवी हो जाता है, बट सिंस यू गाइस हैव लर्नड अब सम फंडामेंटल्स, तुमको इजी पड़ेगा. दिस इज द बेस्ट सोर्स टू लर्न रिएक्ट. कोई यूट्यूब चैनल वगैरह के चक्कर में मत पड़ना. ओके, विजिट दिस. बट द थिंग इज, इट्स लाइक मैथमेटिक्स. जितना प्रैक्टिस करोगे उतना अच्छा होगा. तो पे अटेंशन टू दीज स्मॉल थिंग्स दैट आई ऐड एज टू डू and see if you can go through them. क्योंकि इसको प्रैक्टिस करते हुए तुम रिएक्ट सीखोगे. नो ट्यूटोरियल कैन टीच यू रिएक्ट. ठीक है? ये जो छोटे छोटे एरर्स हैं, छोटे छोटे टास्क हैं. ओके, लेट्स गेट ओवर दैट. सो आई थिंक वी आर ऑलमोस्ट डन. बस एक चीज रिमेनिंग है. व्हेन आई क्लिक ऑन टॉप ऑफ दिस, इसको कट होना है. वी ऑलरेडी नो हाउ टू कट थिंग्स. हमको सिर्फ उस स्पेसिफिक टू डू को ट्रू या फॉल्स करना है. बट हाउ? Anyone can give me hints?
उसका की पता करके उससे फिर मतलब उसका यूनिक की जो था उसको पता करना पड़ेगा क्या?
Okay. Nine friends don't clap for him. Okay, so let's break it down. This one is a bit multi-step. We want to cross out a to-do when it is clicked. Okay. So what do we need to do for that? We need to attach a on-click handler. ठीक है? But what would that on-click handler do? It will set the state, right? So let's say I attach it here. The on-click. Let's test it. कि हो रहा है या नहीं. So okay, काम तो कर रहा है. Now here I want to set the state. Okay, but which state? We don't have access to any state here. So this is a thing of so you need directional data flow. Okay, so in React we have a unidirectional data flow. Remember this. Data only flows from top to bottom. यहाँ पे हमने state बना दिया है. अब डेटा जाएगा इसके चाइल्ड में. If you can check it in Elements tab, this is our to-do. This wrapper is our to-do, and this to-do tile is a child. So ऊपर से नीचे जा रहा है, unidirectional. Data can never flow from bottom to up. But what can flow from bottom to up is events or simply callbacks. Okay. So what is a callback? In simple words, call me back later. Okay. Basically, what we'll do is we'll give a function to this component and we will say कि जब भी तेरे को इस item को cut out करना है, call that function. Okay. So let's say we have a on done. We add a on done. We just call it. Okay. No, it should be actually on toggle. We have to do it both ways. So this will call. अब इसको यहाँ पे check करते हैं. Should we have it? Yes. On toggle. Okay, so it's getting called, and we have the state here. We have the state here, right? So we can set it. Let's define a function so that we can set it. Toggle to do. Okay, as an input, we'll take the to do that needs to be toggled. Actually, there's an easier way to do it. We'll just take the index of it. So in a map function, the first parameter is the item and the second is its index. You can also work with the index. So first we create a copy of to-dos. Then we set it to opposite of whatever it was before. So I'm not setting it to true, but जो भी पहले था उसका opposite. This is called toggle. If you guys know about electronic circuits, digital electronic circuits. Now let's call this function toggle to do. And okay, it should, okay, it's not working. Let's check why it's not working. Okay, adding a logger is a good way to debug, but this is also cool. So what you can do is I can add a debugger. I think I've told you about it yesterday, and it stops it right here. Okay, you can see it running line by line. You can see all the variables. You can see to-dos is a list. Now if I play it, it will get resumed. So I now have a copy of the to-dos. Index is 0. I have a copy. This is true. So after this line runs, it should become false. Let's see if that's happening. Okay, it didn't become false. Anyone has any ideas what's happening? Okay, I wanted to purposely show you guys what to do when you get stuck, but now I'm actually stuck. Okay, let's continue it. So what should we do in such a scenario? Okay, Yograj has sent a key. What should we do in such a scenario? The first thing I would say is Google or ChatGPT. Yeah, ChatGPT. But the thing is, right, we have so much code. ChatGPT is probably getting confused. But anyways, let's see if it's useful.
Here, aren't we just comparing those two values? Like new to do's index dot done not equal to new to do's index dot done.
Okay, that's cool. Thanks, Yuvraj. But just for the demonstration purpose, let's try if ChatGPT can catch it. Okay, then we
Yeah,
can
sure.
see if you are replaceable with GPT.
मैं बहुत ध्यान दिया लेकिन मैं पाइथन का ज्यादा जानता हूँ इसलिए मैं सोचा वो जावास्क्रिप्ट का कुछ होगा।
Hmm, ओके, सो मैं क्या बोल रहा था यहाँ पे? नो नो नो, we want to ask it that toggle to do function is not toggling the to do. Okay. Okay, I got it. Cool. So, but what if we give it the whole code? Let's see. Uh, toggle to do function is not working. Okay, it got it. So that's good. So previously, if you get stuck, the first thing to do was Google, but it seems like ChatGPT is better in some cases. Oh, we have something. And I was hoping that it would be a bit complex than this, but it got done quickly. So what do you guys want me to do? Make it more complex or tell you more ways to do this? Or we can go to the weather app and try some API calling.
How can drag and drop feature could be implemented here? Like React.
Okay. ChatGPT is bad at statistics. Okay, so I think what you can do to start is uh, draggable. If I make it draggable, it's not working. Did I do it correctly? I did it correctly. Okay, draggable. Zero. See how it works. Yeah, but it didn't work for us, right? So draggable through on drag start. Okay, so there's a spec HTML draggable, I guess. Yeah. This one. So one way to do is you can go over this, read it, and implement it. Okay, but that is going to take a lot of time. So there's one more. React DND, and I think you have done it, right? Yogaraj?
Yes, I have done it, but I have used the package. Uh,
Yes. So all packages work on top of this only. If you go through it, no, 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 not this. Sorry, this. So this is the underlying API of how it works. You can use this, but this is only for understanding. For production, I would say go with this one because there are a lot of edge cases that you may not be able to see, but these libraries are from several years. They are much better.
yeah.
Mm. Okay, so one thing I want to add, see the tech. If you want to learn React from a technical interview point of view, they won't ask you about how to do cool stuff. Okay, HR would be, HR would be very happy if you can build a drag and drop thing, right? HR, product manager, they get very happy when you build something nice, drag and drop. But a technical person would be looking for something else. What they would be looking for is, I told you, this is a purely functional component, okay? That is, every time any of its props change, it gets re-rendered. And see what we are passing here, okay? We are passing in a function, a key, and two things. So every time, every time this component renders, this to do component renders, ये वाला जो चीज है ना, this is actually a reference to a function. And every time this function runs, to do, it will create a new reference for this. Hmm, someone following?
Yes.
Okay, so it gets re-rendered unnecessarily. मतलब मैंने अगर मेरे पास अगर 100 एलिमेंट्स हैं, मैंने उनमें से एक का डन चेंज किया, तो रेस्ट ऑल ऑफ देम वुड गेट री-रेंडर्ड जस्ट बिकॉज ये फंक्शन के कारण. So what if we try to, you know, make it something like this? Uh, okay, key, but in that case, it would receive event ended instead of index. Now, what should I do with event? Any ideas about this pattern? If I have told anyone before. There is also a very famous thing people do. They use double arrow function, something like this. Let's say, okay. And they take the ID here. So they use something like this. This is also very bad. So it's pretty simple. In the event, we will get the reference of this element. So we can pass ID here. We can set data dash ID to be ID. Then what we can do is we can simply use key dot current target dot dot get attribute data ID. Okay, and we also need to pass it. ID is equal to index. Right now we don't have an ID, but so is it working? Are we getting some errors? So getting an error is good. Okay, so cannot read properties of undefined current target. Here. So यहाँ पे भी हम सेम गलती कर रहे थे. We were calling it instead of passing it. Okay, it works now. So a little more about the event and whatever happened right now is. Uh, okay, I won't go into deep depth of event bubbling, but I'll tell you a basic about events is click event has two targets, event.target and event.current target. Current target is जहां पे तुमने इसका on click attach किया है. Even if I click in this span right, ये जो text है मैं इस पे ढूंढ रहा हूँ and I click on the text, then also this handler would be called. On click का मतलब ये होता है either click me or one of my childs, then I would get called. So the target can be itself or the child, and current target is wherever you have attached it. So when you use this kind of pattern, this gets very useful. And I suggest to use this or anything where you don't have to, recreate this function again and again. This is not a problem for small applications. यहाँ पे ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा how many we can add. But in a larger application, जहाँ पे you have like 1,000, 100,000 items, वहाँ पे things get messy. Okay, so we learned unit action, learn flow, event callback, and what I taught you right now is avoid passing functions as props that change with each re-render. Okay, so one thing you would see is जब भी ये okay, so re-render, I'm saying बार-बार re-render, re-render, re-render. Re-render means nothing, just function call. So if this function is called again, I will say it's re-render. So whenever this is called, यहाँ पे हमारे पास एक new reference आ जाएगा, handle add toggle to do का. So this is still getting, recreated every time to do gets created. For that, you can use queues callback. Okay. This is something you guys should study on your own. Use callback. So it will create a copy of this and won't change it. Okay, I think that's it. We can try weather API, but we'll have to create keys. Has someone demonstrated you API calling before? Okay, so Adarsh is asking something. What does passing mean? It won't be called directly. Passing means whatever you provide as props. Okay, that is passing something on and called directly. And I don't know what called directly means. See, this function, this is a function, and when we use it as a HTML tag, it gets called. So a cool thing to understand about React Angular Vue is that it gives us power to create our own HTML elements or tags. So we have some tags, right? But they are not enough. We want more tags that can be easier to use. So if you go to MUI, okay, and search for some component, but okay, you see this component takes these many variants, और variant change करने से इसका style change हो जाता है. Now HTML doesn't have it, but we can create this, and this gives us a lot of flexibility. when we combine JavaScript, HTML, and CSS into one module. अभी भी मुझे समझ नहीं आया it won't be called directly का मतलब क्या है? आदर्श? Like calling a function. Yeah, it's like calling a function, just the syntax is a bit different. So the syntax ऐसा है कि we call it passing down the props, क्योंकि नीचे जा रहा है ना वो ट्री के. So just the syntax is different. जब ये run होता है ब्राउजर में, it's just a function. Okay, let's go over API calling quickly. I think I'll get up little late today. Hmm. Open weather API. ना ना किसी को कोई वेदर एपीआई पता है तो they can tell me. Otherwise, we'll have to experiment a little. Okay, then just not sure if this will work, but let's try. Okay, there's a cost issue. I'll have to create a key then. Uh, Okay. I've sent the key if, in case you guys want to try it out. But I'm getting a call. Okay, so I was saying, don't forget to. How do I use this? Okay, I think now is the time we should go to ChatGPT. ChatGPT. Okay. Write JavaScript fetch call method for this. Okay, so it has given us some code. Let's try it out if it works. Okay, anyone who is new with JavaScript, I would suggest them to run their code in console a lot. That's how I learned. See, that's how I learned Python. And it's much fun if you can quickly get out instead of C++, where you have to write everything, compile it. Okay. Okay, I think it is giving me wrong code. Mm, Let's check their docs. What do they have wrong? Okay, so I need lat long. Let's use one of their which okay, that's also unauthorized. I don't know what's wrong with this. Okay, this one is not working. Any other BBC someone told me. Oh, okay, let's try this. Otherwise, we'll switch back to some other API. Others, do you have API key for this?
Yes, wait a second.
Mm, okay,
I
काफी कम है,
pasted it in the chat.
but इसको use कैसे करो? BBC weather API just endpoint. Okay, this is getting very confusing. Okay, so I'll not go with this. Let's go with something simpler. Go with some dummy API. Okay, this one is pretty good. Okay, so if you have ever tried it out, it sends you a list of products. You just have to visit it. So see, the weather app was basically about API calling. You should know how to call API and when to call API. Hmm. Okay, so how many of you can stay till 7 can raise their hands? Or like, how many of you want to end the session can raise their hands? Okay, Adarsh wants to go home. Anyone else who wants to end the session? Okay, no one. Okay, Prince wants to end the session? Is it?
Maybe you should try asking if anyone is asleep or awake.
Oh, everyone who is awake can raise their hands. Okay. Oh, there are people sleeping. So, okay, so there are people who are sleeping. No. Okay, he is awake. This one is sleeping. Divya drew on. Okay, she's sleeping. Cool. कोई बात नहीं. So I have an audience of 4 people. I think that's enough. We I just postponed my meeting so we can go over API calling. Okay. This is an interesting stuff to learn because you'll be interfacing with the backend. And as a front end or React developer, there are only 2 places where you need to interface with a UI designer and a backend engineer. Okay. So let's see. See, a API endpoint is nothing but a URL. Okay. So API endpoint is just a URL. Okay. It's a bit non-formal way of saying it, but this is a URL, right? If we break down this URL, we have scheme or protocol. Both are not same thing. People, it's scheme basically. Some people call it protocol. Okay. Then we have our domain. Okay. Then we have the path. Now this path, right? इसको हम लोग बोलते हैं endpoint when we are talking in terms of API. Now there are some, okay, so everything that happens on the browser, right? It works on HTTP protocol. तो यहाँ पे तुमको दिख रहा होगा HTTPS. So HTTPS means HTTP plus SSL. SSL is a way to hide your data. So when you send a request, it goes to multiple routers. एक तो तुम्हारे घर में राउटर है, कहीं और कहीं राउटर होगा. सो इट गेट्स राउटेड इन द एंड वो सर्वर में जाता है. सो बीच में नो राउटर कैन अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट यू गाइस आर शेयरिंग. उसके लिए होता है SSL. ये सो HTTP में देयर आर HTTP verbs get, post, put, patch, delete. Okay, I think this is all this option. So each verb has its own function. कुछ का देख के समझ आ रहा होगा. Get मतलब I want to read something. Delete मतलब I want to delete something. Put, patch, post are about mutation. I want to change something in the backend. Post means I want to create something. Put means I want to replace something, and patch means something is already there. I just want to make a small change to it. Okay, everyone's following me till here?
Yes.
Okay. सब लोग लीव कर दिया तो now it's more fun to teach because now I know you guys are listening. Anyways, so इतना साला jargon जानने का कोई जरूरत नहीं होता if you want to make API calls. It's very simple, it's very easy. Just copy the URL, go to the console, write fetch and the URL. Now, fetch. Yeah, just fetch. So just write fetch and the URL, and it gets you the content you want. If you go to the network tab, we have made actually a network request. We can see the method or HTTP verb that we used. It's get, we know the URL, and this was the response. Now it's a promise. Okay. So let me quickly go over callbacks and promises. Okay. I quickly go over it. Okay. So what happens is set timeout. अगर तुम लोग को याद है उसमें we did something like this. 10, 1000. So Here, fn is a callback function. Okay, so when something happens in the future, right? जब फ्यूचर में कुछ होने वाला है एंड फॉर दैट वी नीड टू when something happens in the future and at that time we need to execute a function, we pass a callback. So callback, as I said earlier, call me back when you are done. So set timeout gets done in 1 second. यहाँ पे जो time लिखा है, so it will call back. So it's like let's say your friend is busy and you ask him कितने देर में free होगा, he says 1 घंटे में. So you give him a callback function. He call me back in 10 minutes. Okay. So it's similar to that. But see, the problem with callback is, let's say I call back. Okay. Let's say there's a function that takes in a callback. Okay. But यहाँ पे there is one more function that takes in a callback. See how it goes. Okay. Now there's one more function that takes in a callback. PQR. Now this gets messy क्योंकि now we have no idea who is calling who. समझ रहे हो? And किसका closing bracket, किसका opening bracket. Okay. So this is called callback hell. And to save from it, we have promises. Okay. So promises are a better way of doing it. And I'll tell you how. So promise is just like friend wala example. We have a friend promising us to call back. Okay. So how it works is, अभी हम लोग कॉल बैक रिटर्न कर रहे थे, सॉरी कॉल बैक सेंड कर रहे थे. नाउ व्हाट विल हैपन इज कि जिस तुम्हारा जो फ्रेंड है वो तुमको प्रॉमिस देके जाएगा. सो व्हेन आई राइट दिस, राइट, व्हेन आई राइट दिस P is actually a promise कि I'll come back. Okay. But it's not possible that he'll always come back. There can be exception. So what we do is, when he comes back, after this function is done, we add a function that is a success handler, and if there is an error, then we add a error handler. Okay. Now पहले वाले और अभी वाले में ज्यादा डिफरेंस नहीं लग रहा होगा. Okay. We are still passing the function. We were back then also passing the function. Now the difference is that, let's say, this also returns a promise. So ये value return नहीं करेगा. Your handler will not return a value. Like here, callback के अंदर callback के अंदर callback. So in that case, we have a handler function 2. We have a handler function 3. And we can have a handler function 4. And we can have only one catch. Okay. तो समझ आया सबको? दिस इज
हाँ,
कॉल्ड दिस इज कॉल्ड चेनिंग। सो ये एक के बाद एक रन होगा। अभी तक ठीक था। दिस ऑल्सो फाइनली मेथड की आइदर आइदर इट्स सक्सेसफुल और इट हैड अ एरर। जो भी होगा लास्ट में बता देना। ओके, सो देयर इज अ फाइनल
ये सब
कॉल।
पी के अंदर है।
ये सब पी के अंदर है। ओके, आदर्श काफी कंफ्यूज हो रहा है।
अरे मेरा ध्यान भटक गया था।
ओके,
वो
सो
कॉल बैक पी क्यू आर एक के अंदर एक ऐसा नेस्टेड जैसा है, उसके बाद में एकदम शॉर्ट में थोड़ा बताना कि क्या हुआ।
देख, जो भी प्रॉमिस आता है उसका जो फाइनल वैल्यू होगा, अभी वैल्यू नहीं है, अभी प्रॉमिस है, बट दैट प्रॉमिस वुड गेट रिजॉल्व और हमको मिलेगी एक वैल्यू। उस वैल्यू को हम लोग यहाँ पे एक फंक्शन बना के एक्सेस कर सकते हैं। प्रॉमिस का जो भी वैल्यू आएगा आउटपुट, वो इस फंक्शन में पास हो जाएगा। अब क्या हो रहा है कि ये वाला फंक्शन फिर से एक प्रॉमिस रिटर्न कर दे रहा है। ठीक है, वैल्यू रिटर्न नहीं कर रहा, प्रॉमिस रिटर्न कर रहा है। आई विल शो यू द एग्जाम्पल। अभी देख लेते हैं एग्जाम्पल। ठीक है, ये फेच था, इसका वैल्यू आया, इसको लॉक करते हैं। ठीक है, देखो टाइमिंग देखो ना, पहले ये आता है, उसके कुछ मिली सेकेंड्स बाद ये आता है। तो दिस इज आर प्रॉमिस एंड दिस इज आर रिटर्न वैल्यू। अब व्हाट विल डू इज विल टेक दिस रेस्पॉन्स एंड विल से इट कि भाई तू इसको जेसन में कन्वर्ट करके दे। ठीक है, अब इसको प्रिंट करो। ओ सॉरी, अब इस चीज को प्रिंट करते हैं। ठीक है,
वो वेदर वेदर एपीआई का वो पूरा लिंक मेरे को मिल गया, देखना
नहीं
उसमें।
नहीं, आप वेदर नहीं देखेंगे।
ओके।
ओके, आई सी, पहले एक प्रॉमिस आया, हम उसको बोले कि तू उसको जेसन में कन्वर्ट कर, तो ये जेसन फंक्शन फिर से प्रॉमिस रिटर्न कर दिया। ठीक है, तो आप प्रॉमिस को तो ऐसे हैंडल करते हैं, बट तुमको यहाँ पे देन नहीं लगाना है। दैट्स द की। इफ यू हैव अ प्रॉमिस, उसको बाहर रिटर्न कर दो और यहाँ से हैंडल करो। तो अब ये नेस्टिंग नहीं हो रहा, अब ये चेनिंग हो रहा है। समझ लो। अब अगर मैं इसको लॉक करता हूँ तो आई गेट द डेटा जो कि आ रहा है बैकएंड से। ओके, सो अभी तक ना कॉल में सिर्फ आई थिंक योगराज और प्रिंस है। दिस इज एंड आई गेस इफ आई शेयर समथिंग दैट कैन बी हेल्पफुल इन अ टेक्निकल इंटरव्यू, तो मैं उस पर्सपेक्टिव से बता रहा हूँ तुमको। तो कहाँ गया आदर्श? आदर्श, डोंट गेट सैड। नाउ हियर्स अ फन क्वेश्चन। ओके, यहाँ पे आई गेट अ रेस्पॉन्स पहले, बट व्हेन आई डू डॉट जेसन उसमें टाइम लगता है। व्हाई इज दैट? डॉट जेसन, व्हाई डज इट टेक टाइम? युवराज?
जैसा में पार्स कर रहे हैं तो उसका समय।
बट दैट इज नॉट ए सिंक, है ना? वो तो सीपीयू करेगा।
हाँ।
उसमें उसमें नेटवर्क डीले तो है नहीं।
हम्म,
वो डीले कहाँ जा रहा है? वो डीले क्यों हो रहा है?
वो एपीआई कॉल होके वापस जेसन आ रहा है, इसलिए डिले है क्या?
सोचो सोचो।
it has to wait for the first function to finish.
ओके, काफी कॉम्प्लेक्स आने वाला हूँ आप। एच टी टी पी रॉ। Okay, so HTTP works on top of TCP sockets, and okay, I think can we check it in browsers? we can see the response, but we cannot see the raw request. Okay, we cannot see the raw request. यहाँ पे example लिख जाएगा. So ये काफी core concept हो गया CSC का. I guess जो भी रुके सब CSC का. So this is what you get when you receive a HTTP call. पूरा text होता है, okay? This is hypertext transfer protocol, right? So we are only transferring text, but this text has some format. सबसे पहले protocol होता है, फिर HTTP status होता है. I don't know what form. Okay, and these ये जो कोलन वाली चीजें हैं ना, ये सब के सब हेडर्स हैं. उसके बाद ये जो लाइन 23 है, जो ब्लैंक लाइन है, उसके बाद से बॉडी स्टार्ट होती है. जैसे लाइन 23 आता है, योर रेस्पॉन्स इज कंप्लीट. ठीक है. हाउ HTTP client works is, जैसे तुम लाइन 23 तक रिसीव कर लिए, तुम्हारा रेस्पॉन्स आ गया है, बट तुम्हारे पास पूरा डेटा नहीं है. ठीक है. तो जेसन प्रोसेस करने के लिए तुमको पूरा डेटा चाहिए, इसलिए इट वेट्स फॉर सम टाइम, बट दिस इज कॉल्ड अ रेस्पॉन्स. मतलब यहां तक आ गया तो देयर इज अ रेस्पॉन्स, आगे का आते रहेगा. ओके. सो दिस इज हाउ लाइक यू शुड बी स्टडिंग. ऐसा नहीं कि आई मीन इट्स फाइन कि इफ यू वांट टू मेक समथिंग ड्रैग एंड ड्रॉप, मजा आता है, बट द थिंग इज on a larger scope, study things that link all your CSE concepts. ठीक है. So what we learned, I don't know किस subject के अंदर आता है, but since I do the back end also, I do the front end also, I need to know what protocol I'm using, how it works. Okay. ऐसे ही बकवास, ऐसे ही बकवास था. Okay. I'll do one more बकवास about fetch, then we'll be done. Okay. I'm just trying to tell you things that may help you with interviews if you ever go for one. Okay, so ये वाला फंडा पता है सबको? लाइफ साइकिल with hook. Okay, so this function would be called only once when the component mounts on every re-render. ये काफी मिस्टेक करते हैं कुछ लोग, भूल जाते हैं खाली ब्रैकेट लगाना, तो वो हर री-रेंडर पे कॉल होते रहेगा. ठीक है. एंड इफ यू वांट टू कॉल समथिंग ऑन द अनमाउंट, you can return it from here on unmount. Okay. Anyways, that's not what I wanted to discuss. I want to discuss is that side effects. Do you know about side effects, Yogaraj?
Heard it but forgot.
Okay. Let's go. This will be helpful for you. Okay, so side effect is a generic concept. In React, it's used differently. So I have my data and I set it on Okay, I set it. And I put the print it. Okay. कहीं पे ब्रैकेट गलत लगा दिया. Okay, got it. This should be a string actually. Okay, this is really cool. We have it, but this is a very bad way of doing it. And why? Let's see why. Let's create a sub component. Let's do the fetching here and return this. That should be capital. Okay, so see if we have it. Okay, we have it. If we set this up, okay? फिर मैं समझाता हूँ कि what I'm trying to do. The React version is new, so I'm not sure if this will work. Let's hope this works. Oh, okay, it's not working. Let's resolve. Uh, let me put this on. Okay, the syntax is getting uglier and uglier the more I'm trying. I think they have patched the error जो यहाँ पे आना चाहिए था. But anyways, we can try to reproduce it. This should work. this. ओके, ठीक है। तो मैं जो एरर ढूंढ रहा था वो आ नहीं रहा है। बट इफ यू हैव डन दिस फेचिंग राइट, तुमने कभी कंसोल में एक एरर देखा होगा कि दिस इज अ साइड इफेक्ट एंड डोंट डू इट। हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव सीन दैट? योगराज?
No,
नो?
I don't know.
ओके,
Usually,
तो
memory leak errors are the ones I
yes,
face.
mobile memory leak error. So the version of React you are using is quite old. So I
Okay.
use that, and I know what you're facing. So see, I'll quickly go over what's the memory leak thing here. Can I use a chalk or whiteboard or something? Okay, see, so what happens is here, right? It's a bit complex, but anyways, let's say I'm fetching. Okay, this is oh, it's still not saying that. So, mm, what is that? Okay, so I was saying, uh, see, what we are trying to do is we are making a fetch call from here and we are unmounting the component before that fetch call gets complete. So, hota ye hai basically, there is no memory leak in your code. It is just warning you that there may be a memory leak in your code. Now, what's a memory leak? The memory leak is very basic CS concept. You occupy some memory, okay, and you don't release it. So C में alloc function होता है, malloc function होता है, and free function होता है. So you can allocate some memory and you can free some memory. JavaScript में वैसा कोई function नहीं होता, but the way you write code can define whether you are blocking memory or not. So go to whiteboard. Okay, so we are doing a fetch. So memory में क्या होता है देखो, when I call this sub component function, उसने यहाँ पे सारे variables बनाए. It created all the variables in the memory. So जब मैंने सब कंपोनेंट क्रिएट किया तो इसको कोई मेमोरी का चंक एलोकेट हुआ. ओके, इस मेमोरी के चंक के अंदर एक सेट स्टेट का मेथड था. ठीक है, एक फंक्शन है मान लो, ये फंक्शन इस चंक के साथ एसोसिएटेड है, मतलब पूरे कंपोनेंट इसके साथ एसोसिएटेड है. अब ये फंक्शन हम लोग किसको दे दिए? फेच को दे दिया, प्रॉमिस को दिया टेक्निकली, बट लेट्स से फेच को दे दिया. नाउ फेच क्या करेगा? फेच की जब मर्जी वो तब आएगा वापस. फेच इज नॉट बाउंड बाय एनीथिंग other than timeout function that is 30 seconds. ओके, अब ये 30 सेकंड का जो टाइम है उसके लिए हम इस फंक्शन को मेमोरी इसको दे दिया है, और ये फंक्शन इस ब्लॉक को बिलोंग करता है, ठीक है। हो सकता है ये कहीं और से आ रहा हो। सो ये सारी जो मेमोरी है इट फॉर्म्स अ ट्री, और जावास्क्रिप्ट में क्योंकि फ्री नहीं होता, देयर्स अ गार्बेज कलेक्टर। और अब वो गार्बेज कलेक्टर जस्ट बिकॉज इस फंक्शन का रेफरेंस तुमने फेच में डाल दिया है, वो इस कंपोनेंट को मेमोरी से फ्री नहीं करेगा। सो व्हाट आई वाज ट्राइंग टू डू वाज आई मेड अ नेटवर्क कॉल, और ये नेटवर्क कॉल कंप्लीट होने से पहले ही आई रिमूव दैट कंपोनेंट। ओके, let's try it later. I'll try to come up with an example. I'll send तुम तीनों को, but that's the error. And in the case of fetch, that is not like a huge thing, ऐसा तुमको लग रहा होगा. But what happens is, let's say तुम्हारे पास 1000 वो हैं, क्या बोलते हैं, list items हैं, and there is something that triggers very often, like scroll का event handler, and you are fetching on scroll का event handler, or you have reference to like 10,000 elements का reference किसी fetch function को दे दिया है, and you never know when it's gonna return. Not fetch basically, but async. So this is a side effect and memory leak issue in React. So a better way to fetch data is in a way कि तुमको अपना set state किसी और को ना देना पड़े. Are you guys following?
Yes.
तो यही सब झंझट, it's not a big issue for small application, but for some applications it's a huge issue. So यही सारे झंझट के लिए Redux helps a bit, not specifically for this, but people find it quite useful for this. So what you can do is, there's a function, तुम अपने component, right, तुम अपने component से इसको कॉल कर सकते हो. It's called an action, ठीक है, async और thunk action, जो भी बोल रहा हूँ. And this action is responsible for making a API request, getting the data, putting that data into your store. Store is just like a global use state, and that is then again fed into your component. Okay, so agar you will see this picture initially, so it won't make any sense. When we can do it inside the use effect, why should we do it like this? Because when you do it like this, you don't send out any references of variable inside your component to a async function. So the very basic concept of memory leak in JavaScript is, to any async component, never send out reference to your functions variable. Okay, otherwise the garbage collector won't be able to clear it. अभी तक कौन जिंदा है और कौन मर गया? जो जिंदा हाथ उठा सकता है. 2 लोग जिंदा है, आदर्श भी जिंदा है somehow. Cool. 3 लोग जिंदा. So yeah. So ever if, मतलब कभी भी तुम लोग अगर अप्लाई करते हो इंडिया के बाहर की कंपनी के लिए या किसी प्रोडक्ट कंपनी के लिए, so these are the skills that you have to demonstrate, क्योंकि they know, basically they know that you can code, they know you can make a to-do app, they know you can make a weather app. ये सब नहीं पूछेंगे वो लोग. They want to know कि ये जो तुम Redux सीख के आए हो, वो Redux यूज क्यों हो रहा है तुमको पता है कि नहीं, ठीक है. So and it's not very hard to figure out, ठीक है, कि why it is getting used. You just have to make sure कि keep reading the CS concepts and keep connecting it with your libraries, frameworks, whatever application you're doing. Anyone who says कि CS का course old है is half truth, because I can open the code base of my day-to-day job and I can explain you like every single CS concept that is taught is useful. Especially जो 5 नंबर के आते हैं, they are like very useful. That is why वो 5 नंबर के question आते हैं. Okay. So I guess we should conclude now. I'm 1 minute late. Any questions? Yograj, you have questions?
No.
Okay. Okay, bye.
Bye. So it's time to conclude the session. We have no one left, I guess. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, bye.